Patricia Gibson.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I'm delighted once again to participate in the baby loss awareness debate, which has become such an important feature of the parliamentary calendar, and I wish to pay tribute to the Honourable Lady from Truro and Falmouth and all people who have shared their experiences today. We've come a long way since I secured my first parliamentary debate in 2016 on the issue of stillbirth, and in those few short years this Parliament has, I think, in so many ways matured into a parliament where stillbirth and baby loss, as in the rest of society, has gone from being barely mentioned, save for in hushed tones, to something that we, on a yearly basis at least, shine a light on. Shining a light on the worst thing that can happen. To move from that joy and anticipation of expectation to the depths of utter despair and unspeakable grief, often in no more than a few moments, has far-reaching and devastating consequences. Only last night I was speaking to a colleague about how in my own case, where my baby Kenneth was lost on the very day he was due to be born, this healthy 8 pound 5 ounce baby died because 3 nurses, 1 midwife and 2 consultants did not investigate the inexplicable pain I was suffering, and no one considered that I may have pre-eclampsia, which didn't just kill my baby but almost killed me. And after 7 years of fighting for an official explanation, which was never given, despite the fact that reluctantly lawyers were involved, I was left to pick up the pieces. I, my husband and my wider family were left to pick up the pieces with no proper closure or explanation. Now, when that process was going on, I was actually afraid of it coming to an end because I didn't know what I was going to do after, because seeking the answers was what was keeping me going. What was I to do at the end of this with all this pain, this sense of betrayal, because that's how it felt, by the very people who were supposed to be looking after me and my baby after 5 years of fertility treatment? How could I fill that gaping hole of grief which was left? The answer, of course, the only answer, is to keep talking and campaigning for other women, other couples, other families who go through this terrible experience, so that they know they are not alone. And I remember when my baby died, how people that I knew would cross the street because they were so terrified of saying the wrong thing. And, you know, I don't blame them for that, because in their position, I may well have done exactly the same thing. But the isolation of grief, or the kind of grief that follows an event which defies nature, burying your own child, that is compounded by the isolation. And I believe that debates in this House on this issue have reached out to those who believe they are alone but are actually not. And it gives them that encouragement that they too can share, they can talk about their pain. And that's why I remember how emotional it was when we finally passed the Parental Bereavement Bill, a groundbreaking piece of legislation where parents who lose a child up to the age of 18 or through stillbirth have 2 weeks of paid leave enshrined in law. And I remember at the time I felt that that bill didn't go far enough, but I was also mindful of how carefully we all handled it, like a piece of precious crystal, terrified that it would break on the hard-headed reality of Treasury spending decisions, and how we all protected it like something really precious, which was what it was. And that bill is hugely significant because it established a very, very important principle. For the very first time, the law recognised the magnitude of the loss of a child and provided a small bit of breathing space and something to give you a moment or two to try to find your feet again when your world has been turned upside down. And the fact that that bill included stillbirth, I think, was really important too. And it's because of that bill that we are allowed now to subsequently call for more to be done around the loss and bereavement when a child's involved. That bill provided a vital starting point upon which all other work in this area will be built. Baby loss can happen to anyone, but we know that health inequalities matter too. So we need to make sure that addressing baby loss takes place in the context of an all-inclusive plan that reaches out to all women, whatever their background. For example, pre-eclampsia leads to 1,000 babies each year being stillborn. Women who suffer pre-eclampsia have a fourfold risk of having heart failure later in life. Studies have shown that women with pre-eclampsia are twice as likely to develop heart disease, twice as likely to have a stroke or die from a cardiovascular incident later in life. Who is monitoring these women in the longer term? What work is being done to mitigate these risks? Where is the long-term follow-up? We need to do more because well-being, this year's theme of the baby loss remembrance, it matters because we need to think about well-being not just when you're actually going through the traumatic experience of baby loss, but the aftermath of losing a child in the years that follow. Now, 14 babies die every day through stillbirth. That's 5,110 babies died since we last had that debate. I want to express my thanks for everyone who participated in this debate today. It's always a little bit cathartic, and I think it's important for those members who have experienced the rawness and loss of a baby to share their views on this issue with the House. And it's important for those outside the chamber, for those who are listening. Baby Loss Awareness Week has a particular poignancy for me because it culminates in Baby Loss Awareness Day on the 15th of October, which is also the same day when my baby was born, stillborn in 2009. And he would have been 12 years old this year. And it's hard to believe that so many years have passed. And I think of him as the beautiful baby that he was. And I imagine him as the curious little boy that he would have been now. So this debate, Madam Deputy Speaker, in conclusion, and this baby loss awareness debate, is for all the little Kenneths out there who didn't get the chance to live their lives and fulfil their potential. But it's also for all those babies yet to be born. We must continue to campaign for them and for better maternal health and neonatal care.